Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the channel Break the Ice, the channel that strives for truth and justice. We have some breaking news regards to the Nicola Bulley case, and this news comes from Peter Fording's Facebook page. Everything that I'm about to read to you can be found on his Facebook page, and that is linked down below in the description. It never rains with this case, but it pours. I echo the first sentence of this. This is deeply troubling, Nicola Bulley. Before the public ever saw the College of Policing's review into the Nicola Bulley case, a private, non-reportable press briefing was held for selected journalists, reportedly to discredit my sonar imagery and steer the narrative. This is not transparency. It is control of information. The public, Nicola's family, and the many honest officers who serve with integrity deserve better. Transparency, accountability, and truth. It has now been confirmed through the Freedom of Information disclosure that the College of Policing held a private, non-reportable press briefing. I'll repeat that. A private, non-reportable press briefing prior to the release of their review into the disappearance of Nicola Bulley. During that briefing, journalists were reportedly shown PDF still images, not the live sonar data. And they were told that I, Peter, would claim to have found Nicola. This was before the review was even published. The purpose appears to have been to shape the narrative and discredit mine, Peter's, findings. This behaviour by senior leaders is deeply concerning. It erodes public trust in British policing and undermines the integrity of the many hard-working frontline officers who risk their lives daily and serve our communities with professionalism and courage. The public, and especially families of the missing, deserve transparency, honesty, and accountability, not silence, selective evidence, or narrative control. The live sonar footage, now confirmed by independent experts to show Nicola Bulley on the riverbed, was never reviewed by the College of Policing, never shared with Nicola's family, and not included in the inquest. Despite my repeated written offers for the data to be examined, it was ignored. This is a systematic failure of transparency. A private press briefing to steer journalists before a public report's release raises serious questions about impartiality and integrity. I am now calling on UK Parliament, Home Secretary Shabana Mahood and Prime Minister Keir Starmer to ensure this matter is fully investigated in the spirit of the proposed Hillsborough Law, which calls for a legal duty of candour and transparency from public bodies. The people of Britain have had enough of cover-ups and protected reputations at the expense of the truth. It is the mark of true leadership to admit mistakes, learn from them, and rebuild public trust. Wow. Where do we begin with this? Firstly, what I've noticed with the recent revelations from Peter Fording, the sonar imagery, the live video data, this, which has come out, it isn't being picked up on by the mainstream media. Why are the mainstream media not picking up on what Peter Fording is saying? The evidence of Nicola lying in the river is there to be seen. It looks like a body. It measures the length of Nicola Bulley at 162 centimetres. It's not being picked up on. We now have a Freedom of Information Act disclosure. The College of Policing held a private, non-reportable press briefing prior to the release of their review into the disappearance of Nicola Bulley. Why did they do this before the College of Policing report was released in November 2023? Why was it non-reportable? Why was it held for selected journalists? What the hell is going on with this Nicola Bulley case? This revelation is absolutely massive. We're going to read the first bit again. Before the public ever saw the College of Policing's review into the Nicola Bulley case, a private non-reportable press briefing was held for selected journalists, reportedly to discredit my sonar imagery and steer the narrative. Non-reportable. That would infer non-disclosure agreements must have been signed by the press who are in attendance at this. Why aren't the press, the mainstream media, talking about it? So I did a Google search. Who owns UK mainstream media? Now, according to a 2021 report by the Media Reform Coalition, 90% of the UK wide print media is owned and controlled by just 3 companies. Reach plc, formerly Trinity Mirror, News UK and DMG Media. So if you go and pick one of many newspapers, or you read one of many articles online, or you go and watch many news channels, 90% of these are owned by 3 companies. This could suggest that the news that we are being told, what we're being fed through the media, is controlled by 3 companies. Who owns these companies? Is there an agenda here to throw Peter Fordham under the bus and make him a fall guy for the quite shoddy, suspicious investigation on the Nicola Bulley case? Now, 99% of the police in this country do a fantastic job to protect and to serve. While we run away from danger, they run to it, just like firemen and the ambulance service. But there's a small group, 1%, that are not doing their job as they should. Let me use a football analogy, right? Imagine you've got 11 of the best footballers on the planet in a football team. They could absolutely tear it apart, destroy any team, win every single trophy there is available. But if you've got a manager who's got an agenda and he doesn't want this team to do well, he'll get them all on the pitch and he'll go, pass side to side, pass backwards, don't attack, don't try and score, don't pass to him. If you could score, don't bother, turn around, pass it back to the defender. It doesn't matter if you've got 99% of the country's police force are fantastic. If there is corruption coming from the top, it trickles down. It poisons the water. I am getting really, really sick of this now. I'm trying to have a bit of a break. I'm trying to have a little bit of a day off from this recent Nicola Bulley stuff. But when I've heard this today, what is one to do? This is absolutely disgusting. Go onto Peter Fordham's Facebook page. Check it all out for yourself. It's there for you. It's there for you to read in its entirety. Google who owns the UK. What did I write? Who owns UK mainstream media? 90% of the UK wide print media is owned and controlled by just 3 companies. It just shows that it can be controlled. So what was the purpose then? To have a private, non-reportable press briefing for selected journalists before the College of Policing report was ever published. this bit is important. During that briefing, journalists were reportedly shown the still images of what Peter Fordham claims to be Nicola Bulley on the river. They weren't shown the live sonar data, and they, according to what I'm reading here, they were told that Peter would ultimately claim that he did find Nicola Bulley. So are they trying to get ahead? Are they trying to get ahead and discredit him? Because they bollocksed up in their investigation? I'm asking the question. What if they were searching that river for 9-10 days, couldn't find Nicola Bulley in it, right? They ruled out foul play quite early on. They never made it a crime scene. They never made a police cordon. Their working hypothesis was that Nicola Bulley had gone into the river. They couldn't find her in those 9-10 days in that stretch of river, right? Now, Peter Fordham comes along after day 9 or day 10, and on his second day, he finds a target. We've all seen the images. We've all seen the live video data, right? What if he said, Mr. Officer or Mrs. Officer, I have located a target and that needs diving. I think I may have found Nicola Bulley. It needs diving. What if they went into that river? What if they found Nicola Bulley? What if there was signs of foul play? What if it looked like she'd been attacked, or that there was an altercation, or that there was some signs that something had gone on which would lend itself to foul play? What a oh shit moment that would be for Lancashire Police. How the hell can we explain this? How? We are going to look so incompetent. We're going to look so unprofessional. How have we missed? What if that is what's happened? I'm not saying that is what's happened, but what if that is what's happened? He then goes to the press and the media and says, I can categorically say there's no sign of Nicola in the river. I will always say he shouldn't have doubted himself. He should have gone with what he saw. He should have not doubted his own eyes. He should have trusted in his experience, and he should have trusted in what he saw. But he had no reason to doubt the police. Why would you think that the police would potentially say there's nothing there if there was a body there? I know that in future, he'll only do a job if he's allowed to dive it. I know that in future, if he thinks he sees a target and the police say that there's nothing there, I don't think he's going to sail away and just kind of ignore it and go and talk to the press and say that there's no sign of her. I don't think he's going to do that again. So what if it is as simple as this? They said they don't think it was foul play. They think she's gone into the river, an accident. They don't suspect anyone. No crime scene, no cordon. And then they can't find her in that very, very, very small stretch, 70 metres small stretch of river, really slow moving, quite clear, very sleepy river. I've been there twice. I've seen all the footage from back in January, February of 2023. He comes along and he finds her. Is it plausible that they didn't want egg on their chin? Is that plausible? Now, when Peter Fordham was talking to the press, bear in mind the press, there was no press officer on the river's bank. There was no one to control the press. What if they were more than happy for Peter Fordham to talk to the press? What if they were more than happy for him to say, I can categorically say she's not in the river. There's no sign of her. What if it was let him run wild? Let him go for it. Because if they knew where she was because Peter said, I found a target that needs searching. If they dived and if they found her there, then they would know that eventually she will blow up and be found later on. Don't forget, it was predicted that she'd be found on the 19th of February. That was the first high tide since Nicola went missing. Enough water came in on the 19th to flood the bench area, to then go back out again, to lift a body that's about to blow. All that water rushing out lifts her, takes her over the way. That was predicted that she'd be found, and guess what? She was found. Now, how could you predict that she'd be found on the 19th? Is it because they had knowledge of where she was? Is it because they knew the high tide was coming? Meaning that they would know that it's quite likely that she'd be lifted and she'd go over that way. And then, when it all hits the media, when it all comes out, Nicola Bulley has been found in the river. I always said Peter Fording has been made a scapegoat. In my opinion, that's my opinion, right? I always believed he was made a scapegoat. And I always said, look at my interview from November 2023. I said, you almost became the face of the case. So when she was found in that river, who did everybody immediately look at and remember? They remembered that dive guy, Peter Fording, saying, I can categorically tell you, I'm paraphrasing, I can categorically confirm that there is no sign of Nicola Bulley in that river. So all eyes go on him. But for 10 days, Lancashire police were searching that river. And they didn't find her. He was there for 2 days. He gave them a target. They apparently dived it and said there was nothing there. Day after, he's on his way home. Down the line, you then see the images, the sonar images. Then you see the live video data. Then you hear that the island's been removed. People say that it hasn't. I then myself go the other day and I check out for myself. Yeah, the sandbank's still there, but that massive growth right next to where Peter said he found her has gone. And then this comes out. Before the public ever saw the College of Policing's review into the Nicola Bulley case, a private, non-reportable press briefing was held for selected journalists, reportedly to discredit my sonar imagery and steer the narrative. And it has been confirmed through a Freedom of Information disclosure. Non-reportable. The press weren't allowed to report on it, and they were told in advance that Peter Fording's going to come out and say that he's going to claim that he found Nicola Bulley. Absolutely disgusting. 99% of this country's emergency service personnel are fantastic. But 1% are clearly corrupt. That's the news. I am troubled by reading that, and it's disgusting. Peace out, everyone.